Hello. Oh my goodness. I'm really excited to be here. I feel so in my body today. Like, I feel so grounded. I feel so capable. I feel so mindful and present. And I feel really excited to record. I woke up like hours ago. Like, I've been awake for like 8 hours already. And I have deep cleaned my entire bedroom and my entire bathroom, top to bottom. And I even went through all my clothes and got rid of like all of my excessive clothes that I have, like that I've been meaning to get rid of. And of course, take it to Plato's closet. And of course, Plato's closet was like, fuck you. We're not taking any of this because you're worthless. And I was like, damn, okay. So I went to Goodwill and I just feel so like good. I just feel like so productive. I did a food shop. Like food shops feel so adult. Like, ugh. Anyway, hello, hi, how are you? I'm sorry. My name is Rebecca, and I'm the host of this podcast, the Me and You podcast. I want to start by saying this is a conversation between me and you, the listener, and I want nothing more than for this to continue in other spaces like Instagram or Patreon. And I want to say that this is a safe place on the internet for reflection, personal evolution, and compassionate community. These are reflections, not answers. And I want to say that my Patreon is essentially the same thing. It's just a more tailored version of that, where I have extended episodes and I have worksheets and we have forums. And I'm just really excited about curating a community of like minded individuals who are passionate about transforming the world from the inside out. So thank you for being here with me today. And I'm really looking forward to talking about this particular conversation, taking accountability without shame, because I have really struggled with this, and I have done, oh my goodness, I have done reading, I have done research. I feel I have notes, I am prepared. Like, I'm really feeling like this is going to be a good episode. So I'm really excited about it. So I want to talk about, what does it look like to properly take accountability without being clouded by shame? And then how do we create conducive confrontation that provokes accountability in another without weaponizing shame? So, in other words, how do we hold someone accountable without shaming them? And that is so hard for me. I'm going to be really honest. Like, there have been at some point in my upbringing, whether I witnessed this, or I guess I did. I guess I witnessed it. I realized that if someone cared that they hurt me, I could weaponize that, whether knowingly or unknowingly, to make them feel bad and retract why they originally spoke up to me or told me off or told me I need to do X, Y, Z, or, like when I was a child. Like, to put it more clearly, like, there have been times where maybe my mom, like, I'm thinking back to way when I was a kid, like when my mom told me off, and then I was able, and reasonably so, like maybe I was being like naughty little child, and I realized that if I weaponized my sadness, or if I curated my sadness or displayed, you know what, that's the word, because I don't want to say weaponized, like I was conscious of this as a child, but I realized that if I displayed how sad it made me to be reprimanded, that I could break down my mom's plight, and like I could make her feel bad for having reprimanded me. And like, that is a way that I was able to, like, the early stages of like kind of shaming my mom for, which I is like crazy to say. And I wasn't doing any of this like on purpose, and I wasn't doing it with a full cognitive understanding of reasoning of what I was doing. It was just learned behavior. But I recognize that that's a pattern that I've carried very slyly into adulthood, and I don't think I'm the only one. And if you're listening to this, you might have experienced that too, whether being, I think we've all been on the receiving end of that, and we've all perpetuated it as well. And I essentially just want to open a conversation about, like, what does it look like to take accountability without shame? And then what does it look like to request and hold someone accountable without shaming them? I guess the central question here is like, why not shame someone? Like, why not? Like, let's say someone does something fucking terrible, and like they should be shamed for it. Like that was wrong. Like objectively speaking, like they shouldn't have done that and they should feel bad about it and they should feel publicly shamed about it or privately shamed about it or ashamed of it. You should be ashamed of yourself. So I want to talk about shame versus guilt. And for this, I have some really beautiful research from Brene Brown that I will actually go ahead and link in the show notes. But essentially, Brene Brown talks about the difference between shame and guilt. And I had originally learned about this in her book, Atlas of the Heart, which is beautiful. It's exactly what it sounds like. It lives up to its expectations. It's a gorgeous book. It's a beautiful, like, girl, the cover of that was so cute. Like, not to judge a book by its cover, but the cover, come on, alone was great. But the content itself was wonderful. And it's essentially like, it almost feels like a dictionary of emotions and how they manifest and how certain emotions get convoluted and like mixed up with each other. And like, it's a beautiful way to get to the heart, no pun intended, of the matter or like of what you're actually feeling. So she does some really wonderful research on shame and guilt. And I have an article that I will link underneath this. But shame, as she describes it, is a feeling of being inherently flawed and unworthy, while guilt is a feeling of having done something wrong. So essentially, she says, I am bad. That's the shame. Versus I did something bad. That's the guilt. So it's like, I remember in the book, like it talking about guilt being when you act outside of your character and your values, and shame being almost like a cloud of social perception. And I feel like that is the best way that it has been made clear for me. I have been able to take that and really move forward with when I'm feeling heavy feelings about something. Am I feeling ashamed? Am I feeling like culturally or socially people are judging me, or my family or whoever, my inner circle is judging me? Or my perceived judgment, I guess, what I'm perceiving them to judge me for. Or do I feel guilty because I have acted outside of my values and I've acted outside of my character? And that is a game changer like in itself, and I want to get more into that. So shame is also correlated with negative outcomes. Research does show that shame is linked to addiction, depression, violence, eating disorders, bullying, the like. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not very hard to connect those dots as to why the shaming mindset of I'm a bad person, I'm a terrible person, rather than I'm a good person who did a terrible thing. I'm a good person who made a bad choice. Taking that on as your character makes a lot of sense as to how that can leak into other areas of your life as a problem. So guilt is I'm a good person who made a really bad choice, and take that and see yourself as that, and also apply that to other people too. Like other people are not other people are not one thing that they've done. Other people are not even many things that they've done, which is like really hard to say because some people have done horrific things and it has like flawed or tainted their character. And like, I'm not the morality police. I'm not totally sure what makes somebody right or wrong or what they should or shouldn't do. And I mean, I have my core and my values and what I govern myself by, but I think we would be living in a more productive world socially if we were able to recognize that people are allowed to change. And like, just because they did something bad doesn't mean that they will always do something bad. However, caveat doesn't just mean anybody should be written off for what they've done. It just means that we are capable of change with the proper recognition and with the proper accountability taken. So that's where the accountability conversation comes in. I'm not saying that we should just write off what people do because they're not always their actions. Like, you are the person that took that action. If you did something wrong or fucked up or you lied or you hurt someone, you are the person that did that, and you're the person that can mend that and grow beyond it. And it takes considerable self-reflection and being able to turn inward and honesty with yourself and your loved ones being honest with you and bravery to do that. So I don't just want to act like that's like a super easy thing to do. But anyway, shame really does corrode the part of us that believes that we can be different and that believes that we can change. And guilt creates healthy psychological pain, as Brene Brown puts it. And it's a positive and socially adaptive experience. Even if the feeling of guilt itself is like uncomfortable, if you stick with that uncomfort and you follow that like thread, will be led to greater growth on the other side of it. So when we apologize for something we've done and we make amends and then we change that behavior, Brene Brown says guilt is what's driving that. Shaming because of rage is a faux way to avenge hurt rather than leaning into a conducive outcome. And I feel like this is like particularly relevant for me right now because I have a situation going on with a really good friend and person in my life where they have expressed, well, I expressed something that hurt me or didn't sit right with me. They had a reaction to it and expressed their response. And part of their response was they said that they wish that they didn't always have to prove their love for me, which was very hard to hear because that is like my biggest wound and fear that like I'm too much to love and people don't have the capacity for me. So if if they feel like they're always proving their love for me, at what point are they going to be tired of that and they're going to stop doing that and they're going to stop wanting to love me? And that's like my fear. So I was triggered when I heard that, which, you know, that person is entitled to their feelings and to what they express to me. And it's my job to receive that and to see how it sits with me, but also be respectful of the fact that they have acknowledged what they have said. Part of me wanted to respond to that because I was quite hurt. Like on face value, like that was a hard thing for me to hear. And it brought up a lot of like self-doubt and self-criticism and fear-based thinking and abandonment. And one of my reactions to that would have been, how can I, and I don't this is not a conscious like I'm consciously thinking of this. It's a habit, it's a protective mechanism. But how can a part of me wanted to convey my sadness or how much that hurt me to make them retract that statement so that it didn't have to be true. And the what I think healthy way of dealing with that is saying, okay, I am understanding that. I'm hearing you say that you feel like you're constantly in a space of having to prove your love to me, and I don't want proving to be a part of our relationship. Like I don't want that to be something that either of us has to do. So I'm sorry that that has become a space here. This is obviously something that I'm very triggered by, so my emotional reaction to it is raw, but I don't want my emotions to cloud the fact that in some way I have made you feel like the way you're trying to show me love is not resonating. And the heart of this problem is, how can I convey to you how I need to receive love to actually receive it, like to actually have it stick. And part of that is, how can this person, how can I communicate that to this person and then them do it? But also, the real accountability there is like, how can I trust and believe that this person loves me without putting them in situations to where they constantly have to prove it? And that is really hard and that's really uncomfortable. And that's something that I haven't done as much as the previous thing, which is back away, push them away, isolate myself, and let it be known that I'm hurt, because I know that if they know I'm hurt, they'll retract their statement. But we're actually not moving forward with that. And it's a way of just avoiding discomfort and psychological pain in my experience. And it's a way of avoiding speaking up for myself of like, I need to be loved in this way. I see you're working hard and I really, really, really appreciate that. And I want to show you and tell you exactly what I need that so that I can receive it properly. So that's like, how do we take accountability without shame clouding it? And I've been kind of thinking about that and mulling it over. Like, how do we do that? How do we take accountability without being so overcome with shame? Because I've had this happen a lot where you express something that has hurt you and they do the, oh my God, I feel so bad. Oh, I'm the worst. Like, I'm sorry. I fucking suck. Like, I shouldn't have fucking done that. Like, I'm like, I feel terrible. Like, all that kind of response makes the other person double back on what they've said. Like, it makes them like back up and be like, oh, no, 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 no. Now the person who has been hurt or wronged is going out of their way to show you that you were that, like, basically having to go against their plight. And like, I know that people do that without doing that on purpose. Like, I'm not saying that people or the people in my life have like purposefully responded that way. Or I've purposely responded that way to get someone to like not back their claim. But I just want to be mindful of how that response makes it so that the person who was hurt now has to do the apologizing. And is it really beneficial for you or the other person to tell them how much it has hurt you to receive their truth? And and if that is like really, really, really true and like you're really, really, really hurt, I think you need to sit with it and then find a way to productively voice that. But in a lot of times, responding like, oh my God, I'm the worst. Like, I feel terrible. That like self loathing and deprecating for someone who really loves you, they're not going to let you sit there and do that. And it's a painful experience for both of you. And it's, once again, not really getting to the heart of the problem. So I was thinking about how do you take accountability without shame, and how do you not shame other people or shame yourself away from the actual productive work to move you forward? And I was thinking about, or I was reading Burnout, the stress burnout cycle. I think that's what it's called. It's by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. They're sisters, and they're twins actually. And they talk about, and this is on page 205 of Burnout, observational distance. So it says, neutrally exploring what's actually creating this apparent chasm between you, and then I'm kind of adding between you and what's needed, like what actually is the real heart of the issue. And this is sitting with your feelings versus being stuck in them. And that's something I have struggled with throughout my life as well, of like not being completely overtaken by my experience and my emotional experience. And I heard something today when I was listening to a podcast from Therapy in a Nutshell with Emma. I actually don't know her last name, but Therapy in a Nutshell. In one of the episodes she was talking about with anger and emotions was that our emotions should always be listened to, and they should not always be trusted. And sometimes I have struggled with not being emotionally overcome with my experience, and feeling like my emotions are law. And like that's why, the previous episode I did, intuition versus anxiety, or anxiety and intuition. That's what it was called in its beta stages. It was called intuition versus anxiety. But then the more work I did on it, I was like, this is not a verse, this is an and. So that's why it's titled that, and it's the episode right before this. If you want to give that a listen. But I have struggled with that so much because my emotions and my emotional reaction to things feels so real. It feels like law. Like it literally feels like I couldn't imagine something else being true. And then, of course, give it some space and some time, and then I'm able to see how other things are true. But having this anchor kind of saying of like, your emotions are to be listened to and they are not always to be trusted, it made me think about what they talked about in Burnout with this observational distance. It's kind of like this idea of being too impaired by self-inflicted suffering to be able to engage productively. And that's kind of that example what I gave earlier, where like I would have a friend who, whenever I brought stuff up to them that really hurt me or something, they would respond feeling awful, and they would show that awfulness, and then it would make me feel like I need to not voice what makes them uncomfortable because I love them and I don't want to make them uncomfortable. But really, like, who's growing here? Like, this isn't helping either of us. I think the real goal here is also holding space for your hurt feelings, and this one is a hard one. Trusting the good intention of the people you love still. That is so fucking hard for me. Like I said, when my emotions get really big, I have a really, like, anger lies to you, and sometimes your feelings, they fabricate part of the event in your head and they rewrite it. And your feelings, I cannot say this enough, like, your feelings should be listened to, and they should be valued, and they should be accepted, and they should be appreciated. I guess they shouldn't be anything. I don't really like to use should or should not, but they are valuable and they deserve to be listened to, and they deserve to be challenged, and they deserve to be weeded out and made sense of at times. And I think part of that is, in this moment, in this, you know, accountability and shame conversation, what I've really struggled with in the past is, how do I hold space for my hurt feelings while also trusting the good intention of the people I love? And that is something that has come up in conversations with my friend time and time again, of like giving each other the benefit of the doubt and believing that at the core we do want to grow and we do want to heal and we want to have a beautiful harmonious friendship, and we are on the same side with that, and we're not against each other here. So even if they do something that I perceive as hurtful, it's also like it's also like I can trust their good intention, that they weren't I can trust that they're more than just that thing, and that maybe they didn't even mean for that thing to happen like that, or like mean like to hurt me like that. And this is obviously like on a bigger social scale, this is a little bit harder because it's like, how do you trust the good intention of a political figure or a famous person, or like we've all seen the things online that some people have done, which is horrific. And it's like, I'm not speaking to that in this. Like I'm more so talking about on a micro scale with like your community and like the people you're interacting with daily and the people in your life, or maybe your family unit. But I think it's something completely entirely different when you're on the world stage, and I'm not yet when dealing with people on the world stage, and I'm not yet in the place of quite understanding why certain people are doing the things that they're doing, like other than literally being like, you must be so wounded and you must be so hurt. And once again, seeing someone as the product of their experiences and without absolving them. That's a harder conversation that I don't totally want to, dive into here. But I wanted to say that that reaction of like, my friend approached me with something that hurt them, and then I showed how much it hurt me to hear that I hurt them, and then now they're hurt that I was hurt that they hurt me. And it's like this, like it's like shame swapping. Like we're literally just like passing our shame back and forth, and like we're just passing our hurt back and forth. It's almost like this feeling of, you made me feel bad, so I'm going to make you feel bad by showing you how bad you made me feel. And it's like, this is convoluted. Like, we can take that part out of it. We can take the shame spiral away from this and see it for what it is, that like someone has expressed something that has hurt them. Let's take a moment. Let's put some observational distance there. Let's reflect on this neutrally. Let's maybe write about it, or record a voice memo that you're not going to send to anybody venting about it, or calling a loved one and talking to them about it before you respond and show this person how much it hurt you. Why don't you take a moment to be with your feelings yourself, but know that in this particular instance, it's not their job to heal you, because you have to do your healing on your own to make space for what they've brought up to you, what they've communicated to you. If that makes sense. So this is swapping the hurt instead of evolving forward. And I want to kind of, you know, bring this conversation to like a head, or like the main points of this as we start to wrap up this episode, which is, guilt is productive psychological pain. Finding the grace, the evidence, the trust in yourself that you and the person you love did a flawed thing, and this isn't a flawed person. Accountability leaves room to grow forward. Shame makes accountability difficult because it can lead to hiding, defending, etc. And to sort of bring this conversation to a close and to really pull away the main points here, we've talked about and we've made sense of why shaming yourself or someone else is not productive for growing forward and evolving something, whether it's yourself or a relationship or your viewpoint on something. So taking accountability is navigating uncomfortable feelings to own your actions. It's acknowledging mistakes, and then it's making amends and committing to change. And the only way to do that is to have uncomfortable psychological pain with yourself and with the person that you love, so that you can grow forward together. It's much easier said than done. And if anything, it's so hard that a lot of people avoid it altogether, and some people don't even address it in a lifetime. And it sounds trivial and small right now in this conversation, but it is real, and it's something that a lot of us deal with. And I know that I've really struggled to deal with how do I actually properly talk to someone I love and hold them accountable, and how do I, vice versa, be held accountable by somebody if I've done something wrong, without showing them how hard it has been for me to experience their honesty. So, yeah, that's a couple of thoughts that I have on accountability without shame. And I really am looking forward to your engagement with this and just like where this conversation can go. I'm expecting for this conversation to continue on Patreon. So there's a little bit of more of this episode that will come at a later time on Patreon for those of you who are connected to that. And I'm so grateful for you being here with me today and talking with me. I'm so grateful to have this conversation. And I'm grateful for the ways that we can continue to grow and heal together. So thank you for joining me. And I hope you have a really, really, really beautiful day filled with love and laughter and so much joy because you deserve it. Bye.